Hey guys, welcome back to the show. This is a Merciful podcast, and today it's a rare honor to have this duo that I'll be talking to. As some of you know, we've really explored different kinds of relationships on the show, relationship between spouses, between people, and today we're going to be looking at a relationship between a father and a daughter, and not mine. You've already heard my story, being someone with ex-daddy issues. But today, I have a special friend of mine. We go way back to college, and she's one of my sisters, and I love her so much. And growing up, and I guess going to college and being roommates with her, I've heard legendary tales about her dad. And she just used to make us laugh about, things her dad would say in certain situations. You know how you feel like you know the dad before even meeting the dad. And so I've met her dad a couple of times, but today I have them together on the show. So it's really special for me because I know that it's also very important to her. So I want to thank her for, trusting us on the show to, get that story done. So today I'm talking to my wonderful friend, Funmi Ajao. She is a dear sister of mine. She's an art lover. She found herself in science, but I think she should have just been an entertainment mogul. Fumi can crack you up for days. She's a fashionista. She loves to look good. She loves people. She loves lights, camera, all that pizzazz. But in recent years, her passion has, shifted to mentoring and counseling, and she attributed this to her intimacy with God and also the impact her dad has had on her life. And I'm speaking of her dad. His name is Chief Ganiyu Hassan. He's an octogenarian, which is 80 and above. He lives in Nigeria. He loves his family and he loves his country, but he loves God much more. And he strongly believes that Muslims and Christians serve one God. And he's an astute and honest businessman and has had decades of experience in shipping commodities across the world. Spending time with his family is very important to Chief Ganiyu Hassan, and that's also what he's passionate about: sharing knowledge, experiencing wisdom, and also all of that good stuff with people around.
Really.
All right, and so today, join me everyone in welcoming Chief Hassan and his lovely daughter to the podcast. And so I want to say thank you, sir, and thank you for me for doing this together.
Having us.
Thank you for
A pleasure. And I forgot to mention, Fumi is a wonderful mom to two little girls, and they're super talented, and a lovely wife to my very good friend, Mr. Lukman Ajao. So I guess let's just start together. I like to see this. It really warms my heart. I think you and Chiamaka were one of the, and Lamide, I think, our friends, circle of friends. When you guys used to talk about your dad, it made me always remember that okay, it's possible to have such a very close bond with one's father. Fatherhood can be quite. I guess as we've grown older, we realize that it's not quite as easy as we thought as kids. And the older we get, the more we tend to want to appreciate our parents more because they really did the best that they could. So I'd like to ask you, Daddy, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood, sir? What was it like growing up back then? And how was your relationships like with your parents?
Hmm. My name is Ganiyu Hassan. As you have known, I was born at Ijoko on the 17th March 1936. And the time for that is very nice, very decent. I attended Ebenezer African Central School, Ijoko, and BBHS, Abeokuta Baptist Boys High School. You get me? Then I passed out, that was 1960. You get me? After that, then I worked for some years. Then after that, then I registered a company. I become an independent man, and that was 1970.
Wow.
Back then.
So the life by that time, very decent, very neat, but there's no money
Mm.
that time because it was the time of pound, not Naira has not been established. So
Wow.
therefore, pounds is very scarce. You get it, but we enjoy life. There's security, there's peace. You get me now?
Yes, I
and
do.
you are managing life. So glory be to
Wow, that was a long time ago. I wasn't born when we were using pounds then, but I know this was before 1960. So that's it's nice to really hear that. And for me, what was your childhood like? And just tell us just a little bit more about yourself. And you look beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. So really, we grew up around the same era, so you should know life then was all about, you know, um, eating, sleeping. We had no care in the world. We had no worries, but it was in the early 90s, so it was still military era. So a little bit of tension when we hear about riots or coup, then, but it wasn't as bad then as it is now with the kidnapping and insurgency here and there. But we felt secured, we felt loved, and I had siblings. It was a very large family, so we always had people in the house. So it was fun. Life was fun. We weren't so into the internet as my children are so into now. So we could come out, play with one another, you know, games, have fun games, and it was fine. It was better to me. Life was better then than it is now for our children. Although yes, money is now circulating more than it was then, but we weren't so much about money then. It was all about building relationships and all. You know. So
I think you're correct. I think the older we get, the more we realize that our childhood was probably an idyllic time we didn't know then. And so it makes me wonder, like, 20 years down the line, we'll look back to today and think about today, like, oh, those were the good old times, right? So I think the more
yeah.
we live, the more we get more insights. I wish we could live
Uh,
our lives sometimes backwards, like, go back and be like, oh, okay, I should have done this better, I could have done this better.
better,
God.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Daddy, what does it mean like to be a father from your perspective? It's common for most women to say that motherhood is the best job in the world. I mean, heck, we have two Mothers Day across the world. There's a Mother's Day we celebrate in the US, which is coming up this week in May, and then there's another Mother's Day they celebrate in UK and in June. I think that was sometime last month in April. Can you tell us what it means to be a father in your perspective and the important roles fathers play in children's lives?
Hmm. Father's Day in our Nigeria here is very nice because we accommodating with children, we like children, we love children, then and we are proud of our children and the younger ones. So glory be to God.
So, like in general, what we were talking, you mentioned that giving them good education and taking good care of them, it starts from having interest in them in the first place.
Yeah.
Fathers these days don't have interest in. They just believe that once you father a child, give it to the mother, leave it up to the mother to tutor and nurture the child. But back then, because the way I felt growing up, I used to use him as a yardstick for how fathers should be. Because my dad was the kind of dad that by 6 p.m., his latest is in the house. It was all about work, but he knew he had to keep a balance because you need to be present for them to know that, you know, um, my dad will be back. So I'm not allowed to go out and spend late nights. I'm to come back before he gets back. So he curbed us a little bit. Um, we didn't explore the ways the new generation do now, where they can come back anytime they like. We know that once your dad is home, you hear the sound of the horn. You are running back. You are running back into not the sitting room, the room, your
The
room,
room, yeah, and then put
your
ice block on
clothes.
the TV so they can cool it down.
I'm telling you, and TV didn't used to start back then until
Until
like
four
4.
o'clock.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so not like now they can wake up 5 a.m. and start watching Jim Jam. there was there was caution then, and we try our best to still instill that in them and remind
Yeah.
them of the good old days.
Mm.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Daddy, I'm curious, can you share some of the best memories you've had so far as far as being a father? One of your best memories you've had with your children?
My best memory is when my first daughter passed out from university, and when my last child passed out from University of Lagos. I was so happy. I was so delighted. And also, I'm having about 8 children, and all of them were graduated in the university. So glory be to God that I
Wow.
could be able to manage them, because during my own time, I didn't have that opportunity. It's an opportunity. Do you get me now?
Yes, sir.
That the children were educated, and which is more important. If any country is serving 100% income and they can spend 60% of that income for the education, on education, is good, is better. Even 80% of the income, if it can be spent on education, so it's better. So education is key, is life, and which we should not neglect or leave.
Oh,
Thank you
wow.
very much.
No, thank you, sir. Those were really good reminders. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. In fact, studies have shown that education is one of the ways to lift people out of poverty and improve generational outcomes. So that strong emphasis on education, I think it's very important, and it's a good reminder for our audience as well. Because I think, given that good education now costs a lot of money, a lot of family would want to like compare, like, you know what, let's just send them to that other school because it's cheaper. But will it be cheaper on the long run? Probably not. So, and I remember growing up, my parents didn't have a lot of money. And because what happened was that they spent a lot of money on our education, but we didn't live in a very nice house. But now, we're in a place where all of that paid off. So think about the future and what you want to pay for. Is it going to be partying and food and all that for now and then suffer later? Probably not. So, yeah, you're very right, son. Thank you for that reminder. Yes, Funmi, you want to say something?
No, you actually hit the nail
Okay.
when you mentioned that better to go, when you compare schools now in Nigeria, yeah, there are some really absurd ones, like very, very unrealistic. But there are some that it's not really affordable at the moment for you. But when you struggle with your partner to make it happen for your children, because you believe on the long run it's going to place them, connect them, and give them the necessary exposure that they need later on in the future, because you're as rich as the people you know really.
Yes.
So you can imagine you going to school or schooling with um kids from very rich background with rich knowledge, not necessarily financially. You learn from them. I remember growing up while I was in secondary school, I used to learn from the books I read, and you would think that I've been to the US or UK and all of that, but you can imagine me then meeting people that have actually been there. I think the information and the knowledge I would have gained from them would have been richer than even the books I read. So I think connecting one's children to the right people matters now, and that's what most people do now, that they even relocate to the
Canada or other
diaspora.
countries.
Like
Yes.
they don't want their children left behind in civilization, not necessarily for them, really for their children, so that they are setting them on a higher pedestal, to speeding up their success rates, really.
That's a very, very good point because I think for a lot of us that didn't grow up with a lot of intergenerational wealth, like our parents are self-starters, education helps us buy that upward mobility in the society. So you get like that card to enter into spaces. So going to good schools might help your kids to have that good leverage. And we know that in Nigeria, especially, if you don't have that foundation for like good English and math skills, you can be left behind. You're just almost automatically excluded, except you are super successful in other areas that might not require you to be in an academic or super professional setting. But that foundation lays a very, very important role in a child's future. So for me, my question for you is this, and I do know some of the memories talk about your dad. You say it was like life of a man, you know, no, no cause for control. Everything is under alarm. You had all these comebacks about your dad, and dad, I know so much about you already, and it still makes me laugh. I know when his birthday was just 2 months ago, you had put his picture on your WhatsApp style. I was like, oh my god, today's life of a man's birthday. Like, send me hi to him, and then we laughed and laughed and laughed. I know you have plenty good memories of your dad, but can you tell us one that stand out? And I do think you got your sense of humor from him, even though I know your mom. Shout out to your mom, by the way. She's super chill and super, cool and all that. But your dad, I feel like you just got your dad's wicked sense of humor. So tell us some of the memories you have about your dad.
He has his ways with words, like you already know. So those short phrases can make you be a stand-up comedian. Like when you just throw it, you throw them at the right time. Yeah, and he's very good with comebacks. So I got that from him as well. So
Funmi will slay you. Funmi will slay you in the comeback. Like, I got nothing of Funmi. Funmi will slay you.
those are, when I think about those words, yes, I laugh sometimes, but most especially is my dad is not confrontational. So when I remember sometimes when he'll try to avoid some instances, even with his children, I'll be like, this man that I thought was going to shout the whole house down, and then he's the one avoiding to even bring up the topic. Growing up, I just feel like this one he's hard, he's tough, but he's also soft. He's so soft and accommodating, and that's why my kids, they come around often. They always ask where are we going to? I'll be like, are we going to grandpa's house? Which of the grandpas? I'll be like, Grandpa Elasa. I'll be like, yes, we are going there because and be around him. So I remember him for his words, his love for children, and standing by us all through. Like he said, he has 8 children, and I just believe we're privileged for him to be alive to, give us all out in marriage, to all our spouses, from the first to the last. Him walking me down the aisle on my wedding day, and I didn't want to cry. I think you were there, you were the MC, and when I saw him leaving, before the guests left, that was the only time I cried, because I was like, leaving so soon. And just hearing his voice every day when we call and talk to him, knowing that he's fine. He's always having the same response to some questions. You are wishing him happy birthday, and he's telling you, I wish you the same. I'm like, it's not my birthday. Oh yeah, he's just he has a good heart, so he wishes everyone well. So even when you are praying for him, he won't let you finish your own prayer before he will twist it, and just then you start wondering who is praying for who. I remember when I finished the uni, and I used to get angry. I told my mom that, why is this prayer for me that Okorere? And I'm like, hey, he was praying for me, saying Okorere. He's praying for my sister. He's saying, well, she masters. I'm like, this man doesn't want me to go for masters. So which one is Okorere? like, which one first now? Let me to do masters before you start saying Okorere. But all things work together for good. And I know his wish and thoughts for me were good, and they're still very much perfect.
Well, I pray that he keeps living, long and long to, eat more of the fruit of his labor, and that God will keep him in perfect health as well. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Now, Daddy, I have a question for you, sir. So a lot of us carry parental wounds, especially from the father's side. And for me personally, I grew up thinking my dad was not someone that really cared about me. But the older I got and the more we talked, I realized it wasn't so. He was just so busy with work, and work was priority. And because of that, there was this emotional distance between me and my dad. But we're okay now. But I do know some people that anytime they hear the word daddy, it brings them a lot of hurt in their hearts. And and because of these unaddressed issues from childhood, what do you think you can say to those people, and how do you think fathers of today can do better so that they can be more, I guess, validating of their kids, or even more like being more expressive about the love they have? Because I believe that most parents love their children. I believe that, but maybe some of them are not very good in expressing it and showing it. So these children grow up not feeling like they were loved by their parents, especially by their fathers. So what do you have to, say about that, and how can we help support this kind of people?
Hmm. We have to do a lot. The first is interest. We have to create interest in our children. We have to love them. Do you get it? We have to educate them. We have to expose them. Do you get me? Because um, uh, education is an exposure. Uh, Traveling is an exposure. Um, and so on and so forth. But the most important thing is to have love and not to have any bias mind in any of them, either female or male, to train them together, to join them together, to have the same love and do everything that a parent should do to make them happy, to create happy home, which is necessary. If you do that, then you will see that your children also will be all right in life because you have keen interest in them as they themselves they will love you as parents, which is most important.
Mm, thank you for that, sir. I think you're very right about, everything you said, 100% true about showing interest in them, exposing them maybe through education and also travel, but most importantly, showing them love and not having that bias intention. Because I think for so many kids, not hearing that word, I love you, or I'm proud of you, it can just create that sense of just loneliness, and they go outside and seek those validation from really, really poor sources. So thank you for that reminder. For me, I'm curious, for someone that has been filled with so much love, your mom and your dad and all that, and what would you say as far as, knowing my own story as someone that had that issues, and I know we used to laugh about it sometimes, but what are some of the things you can say to kind of encourage children on the other end of the aisle who might not have had such privilege to have such a loving family like you?
Um, I have to say this first. My dad is not one of those. No, now, the daddies in the past, they are not so good with words, so they don't express themselves very well. So that also affected me a bit. I remember sharing that with you in the uni. So I wasn't also good with words. My actions used to speak louder than my words because I didn't know how to express myself because I got that from home. But in retrospect, thinking about it, it did the best it could do, by being present in the first place, being there in the first place. You know, it's not just throwing out, mindless words and not showing up. Some people can say those words, and when you need them, they are not there for you. So now that I'm more matured and I'm grown, I can think back and know that was his best way of showing like we didn't used to use words of affirmations or validations in growing up in my house then too. But now thinking about it, I knew they cared because all they could have said, they did. But what I do differently now is I do and I also say. So there's no confusion.
Yeah.
Because if not for the word of Christ and a strong mindset and independent spirit, like you said, one can seek validation somewhere else, in dangerous places. But I was the word of God kept me on,
Grounded.
on the straight path
Mm.
and up. grounded in this word, and I now appreciate the things they did for me then, my mom and my dad. So now I can say to anybody now, saying we don't do this in my house, we don't say this in my house, that doesn't mean they don't care about you. You just have to think about all those things they do. Like I tell people, birthdays in my house cannot be missed. Like some people celebrate 1 year birthday, 5 years, 10, then 21. Like 1, 2, 3, we celebrate yearly in my house. And that's one thing my parents got right. And I made sure that I pass that on to my children as well. Every year is important. You need to be grateful to God for marking a new year, and they don't miss it. I remember growing up, my father will, envelope money and write your name boldly on it. Then there will be a photographer taking a picture of him handing over the
As
gift.
evidence.
And you must stand for that pose. And that's his own way of showing you that, hello, I care and
Oh,
I appreciate you. So that stands
wow.
out.
Wow, you're right. I think the older we get, the more we realize that our parents, now some parents can be villainous, we're not talking about those kind of parents, but the ones that tried their best, they only knew what they could do better. And I imagine that even our own kids will have something to say about us too when they get older. But the idea is to keep doing better and seeing how we can improve on our process because nobody gets it right the first time. But I'll hold on to that of affirming love in your kids. Love can never spoil children. Those that are listening, there's no love that can spoil a child. You being present, you being saying those nice words to them. I'm proud of you. No, it's not only when they are doing something wrong that you're screaming and shouting. Even when they do something right, scream and out of excitement and let them know you really care about them. Because otherwise, children don't go. They're not well adjusted when they don't hear those kind of affirming words. Now, the next question I would like to ask is this: there's this generational gap that is growing, between in families because of there's rapid urbanization, the world is becoming more globalized, there's immigration, Western influences, and all that, external factors. In a way, because of this, rather, most grandparents are not well invested in their grandkids' life. I'll take for example, growing up, I used to go to my grandparents' house, my grandparents' houses, both my maternal and paternal. But as we grew older, we kind of lost that touch, and I moved out of the country, and so it was kind of hard to keep in touch with technology because there's only so much Mama can say on the phone now that she's getting older. I don't see her anymore, and I only have one grandmother still alive. The
Yeah.
rest, have died. So I'm curious to know, like, because of this, I feel like a lot of our cultural values might not be what passed around very well because I do believe that grandparents play such a huge role in strengthening the bond, in the families and passing down those good cultural values. So, what are some of the ways you think we can do better in narrowing this gap, especially in a situation where physical distance, take for example, grandparents are in Nigeria or in the village, somewhere in Nigeria or Africa, and the kids and the grandkids are, outside of the country in another continent. What are some of the things we can do to bridge those gaps between families that are so separated?
Okay. I think when I asked him that question earlier, something in that line, he mentioned that he said some things and I had to jot them down.
Okay.
He was like, first of all, um, it's part of our culture is for you to have God. Part of our culture is for us to have God and for us to have faith in God and for us to worship God. So cultural values are very important. It's the life of the children. Therefore, we have to introduce the best culture to our children and grandchildren. It is difficult to pathway with your culture. He mentioned that there is no country in the world that don't have their own culture, even the Western world. They all have their culture. The Greeks, the Israelites, the Americans, the British, And we Africans, we all have our specific culture. And whether we like it or not, everybody seeks a higher God, a higher being. Be it the Christians or Muslims, there are thousands and millions of religions out there. And everybody believes that there is a higher source. And innate in that belief is also culture. It's part of the culture, it's the way of life. So it believes that once you have God, it's easier for you to pass down your various cultures to your children.
Mm.
And it believes wisdom comes from God. And once you are close and intimate with God, your children can get that from you and learn that from you. And you can impact those cultures to your children. And so I just had to put that down because, I had a feeling that it might be a bit tired by the time we're getting to I
That
just wanted to do
question.
that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, I wouldn't have even thought of responding that way, linking, our values and then, God. But you're so right. Wisdom comes from God. And to pass anything down, it has to come from a place of good intentions. And the ultimate good intention to me is someone that is,
Yeah.
close to God. So thank you for that. So Funmi, for you, I know you already mentioned that bringing your kids to come visit your dad are some of the ways. But what other intentional steps are you taking to make sure that your kids are connected to your mom and dad?
Thank God for technology. We do WhatsApp call, video calls. He gets them gifts. I forgot to mention that. He mentioned that if you are not financially capable of showing them that you care by sending gifts and spending a little bit on them as well, it draws them closer. And they say, I got this from my grandpa or my grandma got me this. It makes them want to come back for more, children. So I tell them about growing up, how it was there for us. I tell them about what it did, even when we are wrong, how we used to chastise us. And they'll be like, Grandpa used to beat. I say, Grandpa can still beat too. Hey, I'll tell them how we used to use koboko on us, those tiny ones. But my dad is not a beater, funny enough. He had only beaten me once in my life.
Wow.
So, but they still don't see him in that light because they see him as he can't do wrong in their
Yeah.
eyes. They see
That's
him
the
like
grandpa. That's the grandparents come.
and
And then
I
children
go
are
to
looking like, no way, you don't know this person, like I know them.
I told my colleagues at work that our duties and our what is required of us as parents is different from what we are going to experience as grandparents. They are two different. They'll be like, and they'll be like, I don't want to go through the stress of taking care of my own children and still have to take care of their children. And I'm like, don't say that. You need to pray that you should do both because it's another dimension. I see my parents with my children and I'm like, they were not like this with us. So I don't know where this new
Love,
this new
pure love. Yeah,
affection
pure love,
and is
untainted.
coming from. Be like, don't touch them, don't beat them, give them whatever they want, give them the fattest chicken. And I'm like, they'll tell us, don't even eat the meat until you are done with the food. So they are two opposing. So I guess the love is different.
It's
It's on
it's a different layer. Yeah, it has a lot of grace.
another dimension. And I want to experience that. I pray we all experience that because
Yes.
they it's not about them being tired or getting older. They don't have the strength to shout anymore, but they don't even see them as their children. They see them as, I don't know, maybe angels.
I
And me,
think
I see
so.
them as rugrats. And they see them as angels, like they cannot do them any harm. So they are closer to my parents. I don't know. They are more accommodating, I guess. So they are very close to my parents, and anytime you mention, oh, we are going to grandma and grandpa's place, they're excited.
Mm, that's good. I really like to hear that. That's really, really good. So, sir, I know you are very passionate about Nigeria. I mean, you've done
Very,
very well with your business,
so
and
grateful, so delighted,
yeah,
Yes.
and God will be with you.
amen,
Grandpa,
amen. So, about Nigeria, growing up, we used to hear that it's gonna get better, it's gonna get better, and I look back now in my very short years, it seems like the country is getting worse. Do you have any hope, sir, for Nigeria as far as for people that like us that are upcoming to kind of hold on to that dream that the country will get better? Because what we are seeing right now is nothing to write home about.
thank you for Nigeria.
There's hope for Nigeria. There's hope for Nigeria because we are having intellectual in Nigeria. Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
There's hope. It's only, in 1970, $1 is a what?
One era.
It's 50 kobo, $1. And I told my associate, can United States survive this climate? He said they can survive. The intellectuals will sit down together and exchange the ideas, and we see that the dollars will rise up. What is the exchange rate today? Eh?
Four
Once
hundred and
we have
something.
capable people, the Nigeria will be better off. Once we have the people that can sit down together, that can unite, if there's unity, there's nothing that people cannot do. But if the people are not united, the whole thing will be in a mess.
Mm,
There shouldn't be any tribalism. The religions should be what? God is one. Do we have to? It's only one. We should believe in one God, the creator of heaven and earth, and be open to ourselves. There shouldn't be any hidden agenda. If we do that, we will find Nigeria in a big way,
mm,
in a better way,
mm.
because we have the intellectuals, we have
Okay.
the resources. God bless us with the resources. Our oil is number one in the world. If you are grading, the gold is number one in the world. The coal is number one in the world, and so on and so forth. The gas that we are having is number. What do we then want? What do we then need is to unite ourselves, to understand ourselves, to respect ourselves, to work together and do planning. Without planning, you cannot execute. We have to plan and execute, and also train our children, because the youth are the life of any country. They are the future of the country. To educate them, to enlighten them, to bring them up in a godly way, and to believe that we don't have two gods, it's only one that
Mm.
died both the Christian and Muslim. If we do that, we will find Nigeria in a good, in a better, in the best in the world.
Mm. Thank you, sir. We're kind of winding off now, and I have like just a few questions left. Um, Looking back on your life and all that you've accomplished so far and the legacy you have built, do you have anything you would have done differently if you could do it all over again?
And I don't have any regret. I don't have any regret, because I believe that the climate or the situation we find ourselves, it will be improved, it will be controlled, it will be all right. So therefore now I have no regret, because I believe that the future will be brighter. I have hope that the youth and the experience of the elders, because the youth also need the experience. Without experience, it's very difficult for any country to survive. You use the experience to save any country. Do you get me now?
Yes.
When you discuss together, you think together, you do things together. You get me now, you plan together. So you can go into any length, any strength. You can have any strength and go into any length in any country. So therefore, I have hope. Therefore, I don't regret of anything because I have hope that the future will be better off.
Wow.
So
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
best.
Yeah, do your best and just keep moving, keep it going. I think that's the motto here. In our culture, we believe that wisdom is the older people. So as you wrap up, can you give us some words of wisdom that we can hold on to and that can benefit our everyday lives?
First of all, we believe that this is our country and we should make contribution that will make it better, that will make it improve. And we should not destroy what we built. What our grandfather has built up, we should keep it. It's very necessary. It's very important. If we don't destroy, we keep it like that. When Nigeria is about 70, after 70 years or 75 years of independence, Nigeria will be the best country, one of the best countries in the world, according to the record of the world. And I would like you to go and look at that record at NASA.
At NASA.
United States of America. The record is there. You will see the record of Nigeria, then you will laugh. But I cried the very day I saw it that can I attain 75 years after independence? Then I wept. Because after 75 years of independence, if you don't destroy what you build and you work together, Nigeria will be comparable with any country in the world. We will be one of the best countries in the world. You have future. Your record is decent, but please don't destroy whatever you build. Work together, unite yourself, be happy with yourself. If there's any dispute, sit down together and resolve it. And God Almighty will be with you people.
Wow.
Tolani, I don't know about you. I really, have faith and believe. I want to really believe how passionate he is, but I'm a bit doubtful. I am with what I'm seeing with the upcoming generations, how finicky they are. They are not deep. Then the lack of conscience, I don't know. The real issue is how much we value life. Do they actually value life the way they did in the past? I think the crave for the pleasures of the world has really robbed them of any form of deep seeing or deep thinking, and that makes it difficult to actually believe what my dad is saying. But we know with God, we don't know what can happen. But like you said, if you don't plan, how will you execute? And I don't see us planning. I don't see us planning for the future, even planning for a year. So our hope and our faith, where does it go? Because faith is with works. Faith without works is nothing. So, and I don't see us working towards that better future. And that's why it's very scary. That's why it's seeming hopeless, like you said. It's seeming hopeless. But I hope if we encourage each other, like you're doing with the podcast, and if people can get to listen, before it used to be said that if you can read, but people find it difficult to even read these days. And so maybe if you take it to different
medium,
like podcast or streaming or
medium,
listening or videos, maybe it can sink in better than reading. But you can't still do without reading. You still have to read it. You have to be interested in reading what someone posted before you can click on it to watch. So
Yeah.
I don't know, even as simple as writing long captions, you hear them say, "Who will read this? Who will read this long caption? I beg, why you summarize? I beg, summarize this thing for us. Make we know read it all." It's so saddening. Like, how difficult is it to just read a short caption? Like, just read it and see what you can gain from it. So I don't know. It seems hopeless, but I want us to forge ahead in faith and don't allow what we see to sway us or better future we hope for.
I mean, funny enough, I agree with both of you. And I'll also add to this that what Nigeria needs is a radical change. And I think that the next generation or the ones upcoming, they might just be best equipped for that. And
I hope
yes, it seems that this generation they seem different, but I like to imagine that our parents' generation thought of us as radical people as well. And I think with
yeah.
the uptake of technology and the speed of connectivity, we're seeing more things quickly now. But way back then, when there was no social media, people were probably doing a lot of these things, but we just didn't know. But I do know that there's always that wave of change, and change is such. Once we start seeing the palpable benefits, it's going to get replicated in different areas of the country. And
Uh,
same technology that we're using now to see all the bad things, I feel like we can also leverage that to the good things. And I
can
do
leverage on.
believe, yeah, yeah, we can. There's change is coming. It's just, are we going to be able to see it in our generation? I don't know. And that's where my own cynicism kind of like gets higher. Like I was told I'm the future of the country. Well, this is my future now. I still don't see those hope, but we just keep doing the best we can. I'm spreading the good news, and I like what your dad said. Building things together. Let's not tear ourselves down. Let's embody that unity in Nigeria. Let's gather. Let's show love. Let's tolerate one another. Let's come together for the purpose of the country. Because Nigerians, I feel when we go other parts of the world, to other parts of the world, we shine so much like superstars. I mean, I've been here for about 10 years now, but I love being Nigerian. I can never, if I'll go back again, I would like to be born as a Nigerian. I talk about my country because we are a very strong, resilient people. And I know that with time, those changes will be made in such a way that we can take our place as, giants of Africa and a beacon to the world. Finally, sir, how would you like to be remembered when all is said and done, when the curtains are drawn and you've, done your last act? How would you like to remember, sir? Not only by your daughters and your sons or your grandkids, but anybody listening to this, what would you like them to remember about Chief Hassan?
Hmm. I want to be remembered to find Nigeria in one of the best countries in the world.
Yourself,
Myself.
personally, how would you like to be remembered? You yourself.
I wish to be remembered that, the best thing is to help people. I have done a lot for the people. At least I can say that I educated at least 20 people that passed first degree. And I want my people to continue with the education. Any country without education is nothing. Any country without education is what? Is nothing. If it is
Nothing.
only what you can establish, is enough for any country. It's enough to rate your country. And that is what I'm telling the people. You should educate your children, your grandchildren, and I'm still with it. If I have penny, I will use that penny on education. And God Almighty will be with you people. Don't throw away education, because it's the thing that we should remember, we should learn, we should establish, because it's only the home for Nigeria.
Yeah.
And don't forget that
Yes.
there's no any country in the world that is better or good than your country. Home is home.
Always home. Yeah. Yeah.
Home is
Wow.
home.
Those are good words to live
Whatever
by. Home is always
you have,
home. Yes.
whatever wealth you have, whatever degree you have, home is what? Is home. Anybody
Always
that goes
home. Yeah.
away his home is finished. Home is our home.
Mm.
Nigeria is what? Is our home. We should hold it.
Home.
We
Yeah.
should hold it. and our people, we should
Hmm.
work together. If we work together, Nigeria will be one of the greatest because God has blessed us. The rest is left for us. And God will be with you. Thank you very much for staying with you.
Thank you,
Thanks very
sir.
much for hearing you. Thanks very much for seeing
Thank you,
your
sir.
face. And God Almighty,
Thank you, sir.
I'm so grateful. I'm so delighted.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. For me, I'd like for you to say something to your dad that you haven't said in a while. Like,
Sorry.
how would you, if you could just say, if you could say some words to your dad while he's there with you, what kind of word would you like to say so he can remember, you know, keep remembering when he listens to this?
Well, I didn't get that, but I got what
Like, what kind of words would you like to say to your dad now that he's here with you? What kind of words would you like to say
I
to
would
your
just
dad?
like to tell him that he tried his best, and his best is enough. Actually, his best is enough for us. He is a very generous man, and he's um he's a loyal man, very honest, and he can give his right eye for a stranger. And he used to F out of me. Then I used to get so angry. I didn't understand what he was doing, but I guess it's part of the grace he received. Part of the grace he received, and it actually worked for him. And that's why he can be this old and he's healthy, he's alive, he's doing fine, and is the kind of person that is satisfied with the little he has. And I hope to be half of the man that he is. He did well for
Wow.
himself and his children.
Wow.
And I really
Wow.
appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We really appreciate you, Daddy. And on this note, we'll just say thank you both for coming on the show today. You are the first father and daughter group, and I know it's going to mean a lot to our listeners to hear, from a daughter about the perspective of their father, and also from the father about what he thinks about his kids and the world. And it was so nice to get to know more about you, sir, your love for the country, your emphasis on education, and your message of love and tolerance for everybody. So, on behalf of everybody here on the show, I want to say thank you. And out of that gratitude, we'll be sending both of you on a date to have dinner somewhere. We're gonna get in touch with you after this recording. Send you both on a daughter and father dates. Have fancy meal somewhere and let us know how it goes. But we just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show
Thank
today. We
you.
know we had some technological mishap and we're sorry for that, but I'm glad that it finally worked out. And it's such an honor to spend my Saturday with
Thank
you.
you,
And
Tolani. I love you.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. I'm
love
so
you
delighted.
too. Thank you,
Very much.
sir. Thank you, Daddy. My regards to everybody, please. Mommy, especially, and your kids and your husband.
Definitely.
And
I'll let you go.
we'll catch you guys
Bye.
off camera. Bye bye.
Bye there.
All right, guys. So that was the show. And I'm super excited to have spoken to my friend Funmi and her dad, of course, about just things that I'm really passionate about and looking at that relationship between father and daughter. Well, this was the episode. Catch you guys in another episode of the Multiple Podcast. And bye for now.